played throughout this entire regional. I mean, the stats so far have been unreal. All three of them are the top 3 for goals per game. FaZe Clan, that offense is something that it looks like it's unbeatable right now, Dorby.
It really does. You know, FaZe second in goal differential in the tournament, only behind Space Station. They have a 22 goal differential in their favor. NRG isn't that far behind with a plus 19, and you heard them saying it on the pre-show. A lot of them feel like NRG had a bit of an easier road, but it's Garrett G picking up the first goal for NRG.
Yeah, and this one looked like a bit of a free one. Justin was doing a lot of work, and I said this was a free one. We definitely have to give credit to Justin, but the defense from FaZe Clan was all over the place, a bit disorganized, and was not ready within the first, 22 seconds of the game to take on that NRG offense.
And there were times yesterday, FaZe against version 1, think back to the last 2 games, version 1 finally started finding holes in FaZe's defense.
Yeah.
But Turtle, we were talking about it a little bit before this game got started now. FaZe, that aggressive playstyle that they have, that ability to control the ball, could benefit them against NRG's playstyle.
Absolutely, and NRG, they're going to try and lay down that trap against FaZe Clan, and if you watch that Oxygen series versus NRG did that a lot, where they just kind of huddle back on defense and wait for Oxygen to push forward, and then NRG would catch them on that transitional game, one big clear downfield, and then they'd get an easy goal. But for FaZe Clan, they're going to control the ball a little bit more, like you were talking about, Jorby. So that transition game, that explosive play that NRG want to go for, might not be as easy. We're going to have to see what this defense of FaZe Clan, what that control on offense can really do for them.
FaZe just have 3 players that can punch through the hole as the point man on NRG's defense at any time. It could be Typical, it could be AJ, or First Killer, but every time one of them touches the ball, it's an immediate threat.
And to be fair, we have said the same thing about NRG. It might just be the fact that NRG aren't the fresh roster at the moment, but that is something that has absolutely been stated about NRG. Every single one of them can pop off at any given moment. Maybe Squishy a little less likely online, but definitely whenever you're at an event, you can expect him to really take charge on the offense.
Well, so far, NRG have held on to their 1-goal lead and had a little stint in the blue half. They're going to get back there again as Squishy tries to stop First Killer. First Killer forces Garrett G into action, and Justin can play it back towards midfield. So NRG, good enough job holding the line on the blue half, but AJ coming again, pre-flip into the ball. First Killer bumped into him, and they tried to draw that one up, but just didn't execute perfectly.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a slower game. I mean, the pace is definitely starting to ramp up here. As you can see, AJ going for something off the backboard. He kept his flip, and then First Killer crashing the net. Does not find the follow-up, but things slowly started to pick up for FaZe Clan, the mechanics coming out.
And that's what made them look so dangerous against version 1 yesterday. To have the ability to just catch the ball in front of the box, really at variable speeds, variable angles, and sometimes it's a hard shot from midfield that gets the job done for FaZe. Typical scoring.
This one's from Typical off a monster clear from First Killer, and nobody else from NRG were in the air. We had 2 players rotating to the back of the net. Nobody wanted to go in the midfield, and Typical, he is going to take that shot any day of the week. Nails it into the back of the net, and we've got a tied up game.
Breaks NRG's holding pattern. They will need another one now. That challenge out over to Squishy. Ball gets away from him. AJ can play it away, but NRG starting to close the sides down. Squishy wants Garrett, but it's too close to Typical, and Garrett has to wait. It's cleared back to the blue half.
A little bit surprised there that Garrett didn't go up for that pass from Squishy. Maybe playing a bit more passive than we're expecting him to, rather. But here comes Typical in the midfield. We saw him do some work previously. AJ looking to outpace again in the midfield, but here comes Garrett G. A fight right now to win these 50-50s, Jorby.
That ball gets away from Justin. That makes an easy challenge for Typical. Back to First Killer. He just missed it, but AJ blocked by Squishy, and Garrett's there to follow it up. There's a big chance for FaZe. Probably a couple segments there that could have gone a little better. Typical no boost, lets it drop for First Killer, and Squishy plays it back over to the side. FaZe. A couple players no boost. Typical's going to retreat back to the corner, and he's going to be rewarded with the ball.
Well, it looks like that absolutely should have been a goal, with that accuracy plaguing them a bit with the follow-up. I'm not sure who was behind the ball, but it was right in front of him. Squishy, while he did get the save, I mean, he was dead center in the net anywhere else, and it would have fallen in. Bit fortunate for NRG, but lucky to have Squishy on that defensive line.
Yeah, tough to pick your choices there if you're AJ as well. Time to get those defenders out of net. NRG, as good as any team in North America on the defensive side. And they're continuing to show it here. They haven't spent a ton of time in the blue half. And a few threats from FaZe. Here they come again. First killer trying to outpace Garrett G. Pulls off the play, flips it around. Garrett gets the bump onto AJ on the follow-up. And a little mishmash of bumps there. Get the ball back down into NRG's half. Pacifical wins another 50, and it's not a real angle for FaZe to work with, but they do have midfield. First killer over Squishy, and just nothing yet for FaZe.
We've got the final 30 seconds left in this first game of a long series, a best of 7. You can definitely make the argument that neither team has been tested so far. Just with their matchups alone, this is going to be the first time where their backs are against the wall, all tied up. Final 10 seconds. Somebody's got to make a move.
FaZe ran into each other. It gave a clear to NRG, but First Killer made quick work of it on the defensive half. Squishy hops over First Killer. Can't beat Typical to the ball. First Killer freezing Garrett G. Quick shot denied by Garrett off the box.
And you're reacting and recovering to First Killer, trying to harass you in the net. Garrett G somehow keeps NRG alive, and we go into OT.
AJ collects his own boost. Bumps one out of the way. That was Squishy, and Garrett will pick this up. Justin spawns as well. It was a little hectic there for NRG. Typical's got control. No boost, though. First Killer just jumps for it. Justin collects his boost and the ball, and NRG get out of a tight one off the kickoff.
Yep. Oh, Justin off the backboard looking for something there. And again, this is when FaZe Clan, you know, we have to figure out what else they can offer, the aggression, the demos. It's not working as well as it has in the past against other teams because, of course, this is NRG. They can recover. They can deal with that pressure. What else do FaZe Clan throw at that defense?
And they are trying to test NRG in multiple ways still. This one, a hard hit from Typical. Justin had the defense against AJ, and now First Killer all by himself. Garrett G not tough enough, and First Killer's able to grab it.
Really smart play from Garrett G to go slower. He knew that First Killer was actually going to rotate back to net and didn't panic to get the shot early on. Still got the save on FaZe Clan. Justin back down to Garrett G, who is falling but Squishy. You've got him in the backfield. That third man crashes the net and secures game 1.
Garrett just stalks that ball, and it makes it really awkward for First Killer, who was coming back. You saw him come low off the sidewall and tried to predict where exactly that shot was going to come. Garrett never touched that ball. It left a little opening for Squishy, and the general NRG squeak game 1 away from FaZe.
We almost saw a flashier play there too, Jorby, where Garrett G was falling after getting the touch. I thought maybe he was going to land on it. If he had any boost, I'm sure he would have tried to get that follow-up touch. But again, NRG, I really think it came down to them surviving on defense. This was a defensive game where they had to withstand those demos, figure out how to recover and get back in rotation after getting bumped, and also Squishy on that goal line save. They earned this win.
NRG had some key physical plays as well. I mean, the most notable one I'm thinking of is Garrett slowing down AJ on an approach. He bumped the follow-up man after losing the initial 50. And that's the type of play I love seeing out of Garrett. You know, there's always some sort of value in that rotation that he can create before he ends up rotating out. And it keeps FaZe's rotation not as quick as they'd like it to be.
Yeah. Now, what is plan B here for FaZe Clan? The demos aren't working. In my opinion, I think you throw First Killer up for maybe some more solo plays. So far, we've only seen First Killer go for those demos, go for the physical team plays to get everybody else opportunities. But now it's going to come down to him making things work with the space he's given on offense by himself.
I think it's tough because I do think FaZe has tried multiple different angles to get by NRG. You think about the hard shot from Typical on their counterattack, but then a lot of these carries that FaZe are doing, you've seen it from AJ and First Killer specifically, where they'll carry the ball, act like they're just going to carry it for a solo play, but then they'll just stop boosting, and the follow-up man will come in and steal the ball away. And so those types of situations and those types of plays can get FaZe on the board, and this one from Typical, he delivers one himself.
Yeah, in all game 1 and game 2, it's been nothing but typical for FaZe Clan. He's following it up all by himself. AJ looked like he was going for a bump, maybe even an extra touch, but they don't need it. Typical's just that good.
Yeah, I'm not sure Garrett would have gotten to that one, but AJ taking Garrett out of the play regardless. And a good start for FaZe. Took him a while to score in the first game. Now in Forbidden Temple, things start a little differently. No boost for AJ, so he's just going to let that ball go. Can't challenge Garrett. Now Garrett back over to Justin for NRG. Garrett gets back in front of it. First Killer dives in front for the stop.
And that was a lovely touch, I believe, from AJ, who got in front of Garrett G. It looked like he might have own goaled it, but that delayed Garrett from getting the touch and following up Justin's immaculate touch. Now we've got AJ going off the backboard. That's a really uncomfortable bounce, and Typical, he's got so much time in the air. What does he do with it? He keeps the flip and then goes for another backboard touch, but it doesn't work out. But FaZe Clan, they are trying to starve out NRG.
Oh, typical shot just denied. First killer tried to dive in front of it, but Garrett got in the way. Another quick shot. FaZe taking any kind of opportunity they can at the net. Justin squeezes by one on the 50. AJ picks it up. Big demo from Typical, but Justin saves NRG with a big 50-50.
FaZe Clan are heating up. You can see they're now attacking from multiple different angles. You've got Typical, the solo plays, double demos from First Killer and AJ. And there's more space on the field, but hold on a second. The defense kind of bunched up here from FaZe Clan. They do escape, but it does look a bit risky.
Justin getting kicked out of the way from Typical, and Typical's had himself a good series so far. They're going to let AJ go up for this one. NRG sitting back on defense. Squishy. Nice catch off the back wall. Sees Typical. Lines up the 50. And Justin can progress forward for NRG. Gets another 50. Squishy's ready for it. Quick shot back over to Justin, actually, for the pass. It was a strong side on the defense. FaZe don't have to defend the shot.
And you saw what Justin was going for. He pre-jumped the shot, or the pass, excuse me, from Squishy. But Squishy had no boost in that situation and couldn't get the power that Justin desperately wanted. A bit of a miscommunication. Here comes First Killer. Off the ceiling, maybe, leads to something, but no, Garrett G does meet him with a challenge, and we've got some back and forth, Jorby.
Justin got the carry. AJ was immediately up for it, and NRG still pushing the ball in front of the box. FaZe doing what they can. Typical trying to manage his moves as well as he can to get that ball out. And Garrett gives Squishy the first chance at the ball. First Killer diving in front of it. AJ another 50 in front, loose ball, but Typical so far back, so Garrett G gets first look. Oh, what a squeeze from Justin off the back wall. First Killer handles it. Both Squishy and Garrett a little too far off the play. Big demo. Big shot, but Justin flying in for the save. AJ cuts him off. Nice catch. Gets it around Justin. Still a little boost. Pitches it down, and, well, that's the kind of effect AJ can have on your team. Couldn't put the shot on net, but boy, is it dangerous when he's behind the ball.
Yeah, and he's wasting a lot of time and forcing NRG to waste their own boost to get to that challenge. Here comes Typical off the sidewall. Doesn't get the follow-up. But Garrett G looking for that transitional play. This is what we saw work out against Oxygen. They would start in their own half and have one big clear downfield. So far in this series, FaZe Clan have had an answer, but maybe that will break as we get further and further towards match point.
Look at Typical go. Got by two defenders. Squishy doing a lot of work in that third man spot. Garrett, not the best touch. It's going to give it the First Killer, and a hard shot out will be taken away, a little wide. Another big 50 from Justin.
That should be a 3-1, Garrett.
And Garrett's in front of it. He'll get the goal. Justin doing work on defense, setting Garrett up for success.
FaZe Clan not ready for that pinch, that win from Justin, the 50-50. AJ was pushed up, expecting a smaller 50-50. Meanwhile, Garrett G has so much momentum moving forward, getting the touch and getting behind the ball. A very awkward one for NRG, but they will take it.
First Killer again, off the ceiling. Squishy's right there to meet him in midfield. Light touch, Garrett G can play it away. Here's FaZe again. They haven't had the space that they really had too much of against version 1.
Yeah.
NRG have gotten up to a lot of these challenges. It's forced FaZe to go for hard touches from midfield.
Absolutely.
Rather than carry the ball as often as they would like to in the offensive half. And can't speak enough about those 50s from Justin. There's been multiple moments where his challenge has saved NRG on defense. Yeah. Squishy setting that up, but no one. It's going to be Typicals.
Well, and this matchup is a lot more difficult, for FaZe Clan with that space, because NRG much more decisive on when to go for the ball, when to boom it, how to keep the ball close to them. They're not going to be giving up free space or just simply giving away possession that we might have seen in a previous series for FaZe Clan. So they've got to adapt to that, figure out how to create their own space. But thankfully, you've got First Killer, a man who can basically make something out of nothing.
I mean, you got 3 players on this team that could make something out of nothing.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen Typical score a simple air dribble with a bump. So anything goes. You got to send the whole house.
Are they going to keep it up? Oh, they do. Wait, hold on.
Garrett's
could be something, Jordan.
Little chain dash to keep possession of that. Nice little mechanical work from Garrett G, but we got overtime.
I thought maybe we'd get something. Squishy looked like he had a game plan to go for, but unfortunately we don't get that buzzer beater that we did see yesterday. First Killer on the defensive side. There is some space in the midfield and maybe something for AJ. The firepower behind that shot was intense, but it's still saved from NRG.
First Killer far back. He's picking up pads on his way to this challenge. It is away from NRG, but FaZe A little far off that ball. Squishy could get the 50, but it looks like FaZe are going to win it. First killer quick off the side wall. Off the ceiling, can't find the touch. Garrett pops it away. Typical next up for FaZe. Off the ceiling, second touch, flips forward. AJ, playing really close as last man, is able to steal that ball away and keep the push alive for FaZe. By time, maybe get a goal. Oh my goodness, FaZe deliver the Game 2 victory.
And you feel for Squishy in this situation. He was up against so much difficult challenges.
What do you do there?
And that was so weird. That's what I'm trying to figure out for Squishy. What do you do? Do you go for that challenge, or do you wait in net to try to get the pre-jump?
No, I think you go for it. I think Squishy was between a rock and a hard place there. You see AJ carrying it on the back wall, and it's just, is he going to go to the side? Because first killer's also starting to commit, and he could go down. Like, Squishy just has to get up and try to challenge that ball. Wow. And a difficult save to make on that goal line. Yeah. And FaZe just a little too much there, Turtle.
And I really want to take another look at it because I was just baffled at how that even came to be. I don't know if Squishy got up a little bit later, if he just really had no choice. Here it is again. AJ off the backboard. Squishy did jump for it, and there wasn't really a follow-up. I don't know if he just misread the touch. It was so awkward to look at, but regardless, FaZe Clan do clutch it out in a game that I felt like NRG was going to slowly take that away because you saw so many opportunities for FaZe Clan not go their way, and things were slowly building up for NRG with their decision-making and their ability to break down the defense slowly.
Yeah, NRG were holding on pretty well for the majority of that game. Their defense has been great. They've been able to stop a lot of these FaZe attacks. Again, keeping FaZe away from controlling the game as much as possible. NRG are willing to let FaZe control the ball out of their own half, but they're always going to sit around midfield, at the farthest point. They might even get a little closer, but you see them, they'll stick around midfield. They'll let FaZe try to carry that ball out, gauge where it's going, and then go for the challenge. And that makes the rest of the rotation a little easier. First killer made that a little harder. He set it up, but what can you do? Inertia was your worst enemy.
Yeah, so unfortunate for first killer because he had the air dribble, then got the mid-air demo, but he was just falling in that same line and path of the ball to the net. But still, they continue on offense with some possession. AJ into the midfield looking for the mind game, doesn't get it. Garrett G winning a huge 50-50, maybe a pinch in the midfield. And one thing we haven't seen since that first game, Jorby, has been Justin on offense. Remember that one goal from NRG where he was alone on offense, making things work, creating space. We haven't gotten too much of that, especially in the last game, and now continuing into game 3.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we talked about NRG's defense, they have had some decent offensive tries. Here's another one, but AJ's able to pick up that save. First killer beating Justin to the ball. It's going to slow down for a second for FaZe. That touch got away from first killer. Squishy took it himself. And not much to do about that ball, but he will swing around for a potential boost steal. And NRG set up shop in the orange half.
We did see a great touch, though, from Squishy Muffins to get it around the defender, something that has been difficult for almost any team that's up against FaZe Clan. Their ability to read the play, get pre-jumps. We just saw AJ get this ridiculous pre-jump save. So for NRG to have that ability to get around them speaks volumes to what they can do on offense. We just need to utilize it.
First killer shading AJ's approach. Justin, another nice clear back over to Squishy. Good catch. Garrett G down on the other side. Can he find it over first killer? Off the back wall. Justin's too far off. He's going to try to close down the corner, but AJ collects the boost. First killer flies past his camera. Now AJ's got the carry over Squishy, and FaZe get out of another tough one.
And a really close opportunity for Garrett G. He tried to get the backboard double tap using his own flip. It didn't work out, but the idea was there. The pass certainly was there from Squishy on that extra touch. Here comes AJ. In the air, Typical can't win the 50-50, but they're keeping possession. Look at how FaZe Clan moved throughout this offensive side, Jorby.
Oh, and NRG really starting to stretch. They had given FaZe the entire midfield. Nobody was able to jump up for the initial challenge that started this whole sequence, but they've survived, and Justin got a nice catch off that pass from Garrett. Squishy, the catch again. Garrett picking up a lot of pads. He's giving himself 40 here for this counterattack. Here comes AJ, and immediately challenged by Garrett.
Man, I'm just so in love with how FaZe Clan can keep that possession and how quickly they do it with those back passes. You saw AJ, he's reacting, and as he's rotating out, he's not just looking for boost or trying to get back as fast as possible. He wants to keep possession and make sure that they can maintain their offense. Justin, though, the far left shot, and it slips in, the first goal for NRG.
And you're also seeing NRG adapt to that. That touch before that was a hard touch from Garrett G. FaZe trying to rotate up the field quickly. Garrett took advantage of it with a huge touch, and that led to that sequence there of that pass from Squishy. Opening for Justin. Big goal for NRG. They are slicing through FaZe bit by bit, but they're finding the holes.
And the crazy thing is, I believe Justin tweeted out before this series started that he didn't get any sleep last night. I don't know what this man's schedule is like. I don't know how it's working out, but he's playing well. So maybe that's the strategy for him.
I don't know if I recommend that for, any lengthy period of time for Justin. Maybe it works this time as he steps squishy up for another goal.
I don't know. This seems pretty effective to me. Look at this guy go in the air. He's so speedy. Gets above typical and uses the ceiling because he knows if he goes off the backboard, it's going to waste too much time, and AJ will be able to recover just in the nick of time. There he is. Justin making things work. I called him out, said he wasn't doing too much on the field, and there he is to answer.
2 hours of sleep a day, keep the whiffs away.
Yeah.
Don't take that advice at home and use it. I do not recommend it. For Justin, it's working today. It's difficult.
Somehow.
Popping it up downfield, gonna move it for FaZe. We now have to find several goals to get by NRG. Nice little bump here for Justin. I do feel like he was effective on defense in the first 2 games. He's now been able to punch out and create some opportunities again for NRG down the field. A nice challenge for Sipical. Maybe AJ can get this set up. Good touch over to Sip, and that's a goal for FaZe.
All right, there it is. It's Sipical yet again on the striking side of the ball, and this one was an immaculate read from AJ. That pass, oh my goodness. Justin couldn't even get a piece of it, and AJ not only got a touch on it, but it was the perfect pass across to Sipical.
Hope in game number 3 for FaZe. First killer, 68 boost, and a pass, and a shot!
Oh!
Off the boost, and in! AJ delivers again!
Woo! FaZe Clan, they're on fire, baby. Look at the striking from AJ. Top right corner, the speed, there is no saving that.
Beautiful work from First Killer. Just the speed of that. The catch, and NRG were quick to that challenge you saw. But First Killer, he was seeing his teammate the entire way. I got a sick pass out to give FaZe that tying goal, but Justin wants it right back. Had a 50 out to Garrett, coming in close. Squishy, no boost. He has to stay back. Justin cuts in front of the rotation. Garrett also cutting in front as well. Here comes NRG. Squishy misses the ball completely, but FaZe were waiting for it. And so now Justin's got space. Pass over to Garrett. Not good enough on the shot. Typical can play it down, and FaZe can breathe.
Here we go, Garrett G rotating back. Takes the corner boost. 30 seconds remaining, all tied up in a game that you expected NRG to take away, but instead it's AJ getting involved in every single play and doing it with style.
Everybody comes off the back wall. Nobody could get that touch. You saw where Justin and Squishy were positioned. They were both playing the ball. Nowhere where it went. It bounced out away from them. You saw Squishy had to stretch to even get to that challenge. Yep. And AJ punishes NRG with their 3rd unanswered goal.
This is unreal. I mean, all 3 of these goals for FaZe Clan, they weren't freebies by any means. They have earned and worked for these goals. The mechanics have shown up. The decision-making, the ability to control the ball. We need an answer from NRG. They've only got 5 seconds. Can they make it happen?
Off the corner. AJ playing it down. First Killer next up. He's got it. Garrett got another catch. This is going to be tough to do. Typical's in front of it. Squishy keeps it up. 0-second drill for NRG. Caught again. AJ keeping that ball close. He gets chipped off the play. Here we go again. Squishy denied, and FaZe Clan take game 3.
Oh my goodness, what a game and what a turnaround from this FaZe Clan offense. You saw multiple different styles of goals. One where it was solo plays, one where it was a catch from First Killer. Of course, it started out in typical FaZe Clan fashion so far in the series, where it is typical making that first stride, but off of some fantastic passing, dare I say, from AJ.
Really good rotations as well from FaZe. They're still playing really tight, but they've been able to get back every time.
Look at that pass. That is insane. Bro, I can't get over that read. It doesn't look too fancy or too flashy, but the thing of it is Justin couldn't even get a piece of it. Justin just has to find one touch, and AJ not only gets the read, but it's the perfect pass across the field, man. That is everything you could ask for out of a teammate.
And I think that you can see the comfortability that First Killer and AJ have with Typical. Yeah. So many of those carries, Typical coming out of his own half and punching through the NRG defense with a solid 50, or just getting the ball over the first defender. And so many of those opportunities have opened up for AJ and First Killer. Don't get me wrong. Each player is definitely creating value in each role on the pitch. But you talk about the big roster move that this team made. A lot of people were critical of it. A lot of people loved it. But I think we are seeing the benefits of what AJ and First Killer do when they're feeling comfortable and they have confidence in their 3rd man Typical. when their mental is there, it feels like FaZe can do anything. Like mount a 3-goal comeback against NRG, but NRG just missed the pass. Garrett can't connect.
And that's the thing about FaZe Clan with the new roster. Anybody can step up at any given moment. We're just waiting at this point. We have seen a lot from First Killer, but he's been a bit more team-orientated, which is a great sign because he doesn't have too much pressure anymore. Justin, how did he slip this one in?
Justin, big goal for him. First, he wins that 50, gets back into the rotation. First Killer, Justin says, hey, thanks for that ball. Save that one. Nice try.
Oh my goodness.
I thought he saved it for a second, too.
you just don't need any sleep, man. That's what I'm convinced after this series so far.
One all-nighter a week for Justin.
Yeah. Somehow it's working out. Maybe another shot here in the midfield could lead to something. Typical. He's been on fire on the backboard too. But I think it's definitely fair to say that both defenses have shown up so far in the series, Jorby. It's almost like every goal really earned for each individual team.
Absolutely. That's what we expected out of this game, and we're certainly getting it so far in this winter bracket final. First Killer, oops, gonna let that one go for AJ, and he got the bump onto Garrett, forced Justin to make the save. Justin able to make it, and now behind the ball again.
Here we go.
AJ,
something
one touch,
AJ
two touches underneath, First Killer. Oh! Somehow FaZe, or somehow NRG come away with that.
Yeah,
Justin.
I thought that was gonna be a follow-up. I mean, the double tap from AJ, and then not getting a crash in from First Killer, who's so on fire. But then, hold on a second, speedy shot. Look at how quickly Garrett G was up for this backboard read.
You saw in net First Killer, or not First Killer, excuse me, AJ coming up, thinks that ball's a little lower than it is, and his approach is expecting that ball to come down a little bit more. Instead, it bounces away from him. He can't find the touch, and Justin can collect.
That looked abnormal, how fast Garrett G got up to that ball. Like, he's got some special hydraulics in his wheels or something to spring himself up into the air. That was ridiculous, Garrett G. And we've been in this situation before. 2-goal lead for NRG. They start out on fire, but slowly and surely, FaZe Clan start chipping away at that defense. It's either with demos or just crazy individual plays. And here's the first step to the comeback.
And it's always AJ in the center of things. Gets that hard touch out, cuts off Garrett's approach. He beats Garrett to his own defense. Garrett was in position on the back wall saying like, yeah, I'll carry this ball out, but AJ just boosts right past him and then passes it to his teammate. So it doesn't even matter.
And they don't utilize that speed of the entire series. They're waiting to be explosive to catch them off guard because there's moments where NRG think they have time based off historically how FaZe Clan have been challenging them, but then all of a sudden you get somebody like AJ or First Killer using all their boost abruptly, catching NRG off guard and making a play out of it.
Nice touch from First Killer, and AJ uses Garrett as a pole vault to get that ball.
Here's the demo.
Nice little move from Squishy. He's got to beat AJ here. He does win that 50. Garrett next up on the follow. First Killer. They both go for the fake. Pull it off on the challenge, but First Killer's got control. Oh, flips it up underneath. AJ denied. Squishy got in front of it. FaZe aren't done. Typical. Comes in tight on the rotation. Has to contend with Garrett and Squishy. Justin last back just off the post. First Killer swings around, tried to control. Can't do it. Justin forced him out. Got a little bump, and Garrett gets a big clear for NRG.
And Garrett G is doing a lot of the heavy lifting to make sure somebody's finding a challenge. Even whenever he doesn't have boost, he's flipping into the midfield, making sure he can get in front of a shot or at least go for the 50-50. Sometimes he isn't there in time, and that's what's plagued NRG so far. Here's Squishy, though, in the corner. Might lead to something. He's going for a slower approach, doesn't get the touch, and he's going to end up staying on the offensive half, taking the boost, but FaZe Clan, they're already in your own half, man. You got to get back.
Yeah, Squishy missed the first corner boost, then decided to go for the other one, and then ended up having a poor recovery on top of it. FaZe will keep going. Garrett gets bumped. And that messes up where he wanted that touch to go. Yep. There's another challenge from FaZe, trying to prevent NRG from getting the clear. AJ got to keep that ball close, and First Killer will get to it first, but this is still NRG possession.
Off the sidewall, that was a great pass. Squishy, what does he have off the backboard? It's met by AJ, and my goodness, the backboard defense from FaZe Clan this game have been spot on. Nobody's missed a touch. Here comes First Killer, the musty flick, past one. Squishy, rock solid in defense.
Another high touch for AJ. NRG can't do much with that first touch. First Killer lets that go for Sip, and Squishy's there to cut it off. Oh, and he missed the ball. Garrett got the touch out. That was typical who ended up missing. First Killer trying to prevent the approach. Justin gets the touch out again. Justin trying to create opportunities for NRG. Here's another one off the back wall, but Garrett's too far back. Quick pass back over to AJ from First. First landing back into the corner. Wants to trap it again. They're able to shake that ball off of Justin and allow Typical to come in. Turtle, FaZe are just jumping in front of each challenge. And even if they can't get the one touch, one of these players is getting in front of it.
Oh, that's a miss.
Forcing NRG to look. Huge whiff, and it's denied anyway. Garrett G cannot get it done. Big clear for first killer down the field. Typical cannot make the touch. Up high for NRG. First killer, high touch off the ceiling. FaZe enacting this siege. Can they deliver pain to NRG's net? Back for Justin, back over to Garrett, and NRG get the clear once again.
It's the final 20 seconds. They can hold on, and they'll tie this series up. NRG. However, Justin just missed that double tap, which would have been huge. Getting the security, especially when your defense has just been all backs against the wall. You need to make every challenge count, especially with only 5 seconds left and a FaZe clan hungry for that goal.
First killer trying to get that bump. Here's the last chance. Garrett G hops in front of it again. He's cut the rotation, stops so many FaZe attacks. He needs to stop another one. Big bump, and it's gonna touch the ground. NRG have tied the series.
And they narrowly escaped from that one. The bump play, which has been routine for FaZe clan. You think that you're safe on your own backboard against any team, but not against FaZe clan because they are that aggressive. They will rotate and chase you on your own backboard, getting a bump, making sure you don't get that touch so the ball bounces off the backboard and another teammate can easily clean it up. NRG, much different from last game. They were able to hold on.
Great work on defense from NRG. 8 saves between the 3 of them, especially at the end. Honestly, there were moments for all 3 players in the rotation where, you know, a player's out. Okay, just got to cut back in, just got to make the 50, got to buy a little bit more time to stop FaZe. And FaZe are really sending the house. You see the rotation. The third man is always in that third. They're just so confident in their ability not only to get to any challenge in front, but to outplay you on the sides and even on the return back. Even when that ball's flying over FaZe's head, they still somehow find a way to flush that ball to the corner. The difficulty comes in some of those counterattacks that NRG were able to collect on.
That's what baffles my mind about this FaZe clan roster is the fact that against NRG, a team that is so dominant with their transition game and getting counterattacks to the point where if you overextend against NRG, you might as well just drop your controller because they're gonna get a booming clear and score on you with Justin in the offensive half. But that's not the case for FaZe clan. They will send the whole house, have somebody even rotating on the NRG backboard, and still find time to get back on defense and put on some shots like this. Typical trying to score another first goal for FaZe clan. Doesn't make it count, but it was close.
First killer boxing out Squishy. You see AJ coming in quickly, and he muscles his way through for a goal. Payday for AJ.
The 50-50 power from AJ. He squeezes it past that last defender. Garrett G had jumped a bit early, and AJ was all over it to make sure they secure that first one.
AJ, the center of almost every opportunity for FaZe. Haven't kept close track, but his goal participation has to be close to 100% for FaZe.
Is there ever a point where AJ's touches and AJ's shots aren't just so well thought out and executed? I mean, the man is almost always averaging 30% shooting accuracy. Every shot he takes seems like it's going to be powerful and something you have to be scared of.
Even when he's not shooting the ball, he's such a threat in other phases of the game. You look back to that highlight reel pass that he had, but it's also the physical game. It's also his 50s. AJ excelling in all phases of the game. Here comes Squishy.
No pun intended, or was it intended?
Again, denied. We'll leave that one for you to decide, Turtle. Garrett popping that ball downfield. And that's the way NRG have gotten through this FaZe defense. Turtle, you talked a little bit about them booming the ball by their heads and trying to get over them. And that has worked. And NRG's defense has been good enough to hold FaZe to, there's only been one game where FaZe has scored more than 2 goals.
I want to see more demos. And there it is, Squishy, thank you so much. But then, of course, AJ's going to take out Garrett G. It's like you think that there's a play developing, and then all of a sudden AJ, the man we always love to talk about, is getting involved. There's a physical play from Squishy on AJ. Squishy, definitely that player who has the most opportunities, in my opinion, to go for those demos. I'd love to see him step up in that regard. Typical. Look at the mechanics and that recovery. I believe he landed in time and still got the shot off.
How does this one go in as well? Typical gets underneath it, and Justin was on the back wall. It was Garrett who tried to make the 50 happen, and Squishy, excuse me, just couldn't get it done.
And that's the frustrating thing. I talk about, going for demos and having Squishy be physical, but a lot of times if you don't pick and choose the right moments to go for demos, you're going to be slow on the challenges and on those rotations. That's why a lot of these teams in the upper levels don't want to go for those physical plays, because then you can't rotate back in time. You can't get in position to go for the challenge, especially against the FaZe clan offense where you need to be at the exact moment. Otherwise, it's going to be a goal. And we just saw exactly how ineffective that can be. Here comes Squishy, though, looking for the 50-50. They're stuck on defense. NRG need to get out of this one.
And thanks to our... Oh, hang on a second. Quick shot. Wow, Typical got back quick for that save. And AJ, again, another catch. Forces Garrett to use his boost and make that challenge happen. First killer, close touch. He's over Garrett and over Justin, but then gets bumped out. First killer still gets the last laugh on the touch. AJ can't quite muscle that 50. Justin's just got too much momentum. Typical in a tough spot, but he gets back down in time to make the save.
And you think that one should have for sure been a goal. The left side of the net was clear. Gary G couldn't find it. Maybe he thought Typical was going to assume the shot would be towards that wide area. And that one felt like a missed opportunity, Jorby.
NRG need a couple. First killer wrapping around. FaZe just would not let NRG out of their half. Look, Garrett really feeling the boost starvation, trying to get that midfield boost. He was nowhere close to it. And FaZe have absolutely destroyed NRG on this sequence.
And I wish I could hear the comms right now to see if this was actually planned. It looked like maybe even there was a pinch. AJ and Typical were both trying to squeeze that one in. Squishy was crashing from the left side to get a clear out, but they're swarmed right now. NRG, there is a FaZe Clan member in almost every spot on the field to meet them with a challenge, Jorby. How do you get out?
And Justin got demoed on that play. Garrett had to completely leave the play because he's feeling that boost starvation. Squishy losing that 50. And it's just a cavalcade of disaster for NRG. FaZe getting the better of them in the first 4 or so minutes, or 3 or so minutes, if you will. Thanks to our wonderful statistician, Turtle. We do confirm that AJ has been responsible for partly responsible for 5 out of 7 goals. So right. Just over a 70% goal participation for him, highest on the team in the series. So he's absolutely been an X-factor.
Yeah. We can expect that from AJ at this point, that level of goal participation, that level of involvement on the offensive side. And it's quite crazy because First and Typical are both now at 4 out of 7. So, you know, you compliment AJ about always being there and being involved, but his teammates are right behind him to back him up and really put numbers up themselves. And of course, you can't discredit First Killer or Typical, 2 players with some phenomenal mechanics and abilities on the field. We need to be able to say the same thing for NRG. Typically in the past you can, but right now they are flat.
I just think now it's 6 for 8 because he did score a goal earlier. Oh no, and it was assisted on both of them, so never mind. Including the game on Wasteland. First Killer, only 2 goals.
Sauce at this point, bro.
Only 2
the
goals.
Numbers,
he wasn't.
They're all combining for me. You just need to know AJ's just a beast at the end of the day.
First Killer muscles his way by. FaZe take another shot, and NRG just do not have a response on Wasteland for FaZe.
Maybe a midfield pass could lead to something. You'd like to see NRG get 1 goal if you are a fan of them moving forward, build some momentum. Started early on, but 10 seconds left. It looks like we are going to get FaZe Clan on match point first here in this series.
Big win and a big chance to head to the grand finals in the upper bracket and avoid having to win 2 best-of-7s in a row if you want to make it to the grand finals. NRG, Turtle, they've done a great job responding to FaZe. This has gone both ways. And, you know, when we head to Neo Tokyo, would not be surprised if NRG clutch up on the defense and take us to Game 7.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all, but oh my goodness, it's crazy because I really am lost for words right now on what NRG can do to battle back. And this game, while it looks, you know, completely in FaZe Clan's control, which it was, the rest of the series that we saw beforehand doesn't speak that same story. And I think that NRG, like you said, do have what it takes to battle back in Neo Tokyo. We're going to see what they have to give and to offer on offense, but they barely were even on the other half of the field. It felt like the offense, it was very flat. There wasn't any creativity. We weren't seeing Justin going for anything special, really, and not any punishment goals either with the transition. So NRG, they've got to do a complete 180 in this game.
Yeah, they just didn't have any boosts. Like FaZe they kept stealing everything away from them, and it made every clear attempt that much harder. You know, you couldn't have a man in midfield because you all had to be stuck on the back wall because you're just either trying to pick up pads, hoping a canister spawns in a timely fashion.
Here we go, though. Here we go.
Squishy on top on the kickoff. Makes it bounce, and Squishy makes him look silly.
Look at Squishy's camera. He's laughing. He has no idea how this went in, and I have no idea how this went either. He faked out one, and you thought he was going to get the follow-up. First Killer just bit at the early challenge, and somehow that one slowly rolls in. The best goal, the flashiest goal we've ever seen.
Sometimes the lightest touch is the best touch.
Absolutely.
Oh, holds true.
Just hit the brakes on him, Jorby. That's all it takes.
Big goal for Squishy, for sure. Justin getting punched off that ball by first killer. And that's a really great response for NRG. We know that they're capable of locking FaZe down on defense, but you know that FaZe are always going to bring the heat, and so that defense has to be at 100%. If FaZe even sniff one error or one mistouch, they're going to be all over it and putting the ball in the back of NRG's net.
Ooh, I do like what we just saw there from Garrett G, who's being aggressive on his rotations back. Instead of trying to go directly towards the net, he's looking to take out the player who has possession of the ball. So maybe implementing that player who's rotating back. And that was a risky challenge from Squishy. He was the last man, but he did get a piece of it and forced first killer, to go for that challenge and not try to take a shot.
FaZe looking for a way out. AJ able to make one attacker miss. And the 50 was good, but nobody can commit to that ball from FaZe. Typical ends up missing the ball. AJ, light shot, he can turn it away. FaZe having trouble getting out of the orange half right now. NRG still waiting around midfield. FaZe tying each other up. Not the best sequence here for FaZe. It's very chaotic. Ball just bounces up in front of a couple players. Squishy wants to pass out, but first killer's going to cut him off.
It's a good demo as well from Squishy. And there's a lot more space I've noticed for NRG moving up on offense. FaZe Clan, I don't know if maybe the communication isn't as strong, but not as organized as we saw in the previous game. Maybe that first goal, that first mistake scared and made them back up a little bit on the defensive line.
Squishy again in midfield. AJ trying to keep that ball away from Squishy. Squishy just drives forward. And Typical able to force that ball out. But FaZe need a follow-up touch. Yeah, they can only make a 50 happen, and Justin barrels that one. Here's Garrett, hard touch off the corner. Squishy committed, and he got to the ball. NRG continue to press this FaZe defense. Another touch for FaZe gets away from them. Justin keeps this close off the stealing, still tries to follow through. Garrett will be first to this touch. Typical collects his boost. Shot on target, saved by Typical. So FaZe in a holding pattern, and finally a big clear for first killer.
Yeah, but they do look pretty comfortable. There have been some solid shots from NRG, but nothing too threatening, except for maybe this one from Justin. Doesn't get the touch he wanted, and Squishy's forced to crash in the net. Maybe Garrett G goes for a double off the backboard, but doesn't find it. Instead does find Justin, though. The passing game from NRG, top notch.
Oh, we thought AJ had a sick pass. Garrett says, I could do one just as good. Look at that touch from Garrett G. Disgusting work.
Dude, is there anything else you would ask for out of Justin? That ball went straight to his car. It looked like Justin didn't even need to use his controller to score that one.
That's a massive pass. And a great two-goal lead for NRG to sit on. Time taken away for FaZe. They've had trouble breaking out against this NRG team, but they've just caught the ball looking, and that shot's not on target. Justin clears the ball. First killer, still able to control it with that hard touch, and Garrett puts him right back in the orange half. FaZe, pass in front, first killer boosting towards it. AJ, not going to be first to that ball. But FaZe starting to grab control. They're starting to get more of these touches in the third. First killer, pass in front. They got another one off the backboard, and they got to rotate back. First killer bails Typical out of a tough spot, and Typical can keep the push going off of that great stop from first killer.
An uncharacteristic shot there from AJ, where it was actually a little bit high in a situation where normally he's nailing that into the top corner. FaZe Clan have been in this situation before, down 2 goals. They need to make something work. They've most likely got that confidence and know that it's possible, but against an NRG defense that is finding the saves is going to be rather difficult. This could lead to something, though. Double demo on the field. Justin's wasting so much time and finds another 50-50. FaZe Clan are knocking at the door. No answers yet.
That ball, it's tough for first killer to handle, but here they come again. A lot of bumps and demos, and about 4 or 5 shots on that sequence, and FaZe just could not come up with a goal. NRG always had a defender ready in net. Typical carrying this. First killer.
All 3 of them up.
All 3 of them are up for it, and Garrett wants him to hang around a little longer with that second touch. Oopsies. Justin trying to take that ball out.
Bro.
Can he get it beyond first killer? He does.
I'm still amazed that all 3 players jumped, and then they still have possession. They're still on offense. All 3 of them were in the air. They rotate in time, and they're still taking shots, Jorby. I can't make this up. FaZe Clan, the recovery is on another level.
AJ puts heavy lead behind this one. Garrett tries to screen across, but it's just too much for Justin to save.
Man.
no chance, and FaZe have been given a chance, Turtle.
It's possible. It's possible. Now, if you're on NRG, that thought starts creeping into your mind. Maybe, you know, we give up this goal. FaZe Clan look pretty good. 15 seconds left. We've got to hold on. It's still definitely there for FaZe Clan. They just got to make something.
First killer. Cut off by Garrett. Garrett protecting the ball. Smart to let that ball drop. Justin, a little bit of boost, but he gets by AJ. And NRG, great clock management at the end of the game to take the win. And guess where we're going, Turtle?
Yes,
we're going to Champions Field.
And did we expect anything less? I don't think so. You know, maybe earlier on, FaZe Clan, with how great they looked, especially with Sypical scoring first in almost every single game, it felt like AJ striking was the highest level we've seen in quite some time, still finding that high shooting percentage. But somehow, NRG, they have slipped back in, and that first goal from Squishy was the weirdest thing, but thankfully we got that incredible pass from Gary G to even it out.
Any kind of goal will suffice when you're trying to get by this FaZe team.
Yeah, that
really
was
impressed me. Something really impressed me about NRG and Neo Tokyo is they really switched up the play. They weren't as willing to give up midfield. In fact, you saw first and second man were routinely pushing beyond the midfield line, trying to aggress and keep FaZe from having any real breakout. And those 50s, I think, really made life difficult for them. And Turtle, this is what has made NRG so tough to beat in North America for so long.
Absolutely, but now we've got Champions Field brought to you by X Games. It's time to get into it. The final 5 minutes between two Titans, one with the newer roster, but one with a very established one that we have high expectations of. Who's going to take it?
What many are calling the North American Super Team. Would love to find a grand finals appearance in their first regional together. So with first killer, quickly up to that ball, and AJ was ready for it. Got a nice touch out. Sypical actually pulls off, gives AJ the lead on that one. Like Sypical might have had a high pressure opportunity. These pitches are going crazy.
Dude, this is what I love about this game, especially with players like this, is, you know, the ball will have a very consistent speed, and then all of a sudden one pitch just sends it flying. You can never know what to expect when you've got such mechanical players on the field. Gary G off the ceiling might lead to something. Justin actually pulls off on that and then goes for the smarter approach and then leaves this one for Gary G, going for the mind game. NRG, they found their stride and they're stuck on offense.
First killer, taking this ball back over to the corner. Forces Squishy to stretch for it, but it's not a problem. Squishy's got no boost. Can't get back to the challenge. First killer getting bumped in midfield. It's going to make this follow-up slow. And Justin gets to it first. Crucial bump to give NRG some space.
Typical, what are you doing?
Shot from Squishy. What? Nobody from FaZe. They just let that ball hang in front of the box. And Justin.
Oh my goodness.
And Squishy deliver the first goal.
Oh, and Typical had 9 boosts when he was rotating back to net. And there was one moment where he could have turned to go for that challenge, but couldn't find the boost to go for it. I don't think he had the confidence either, so instead he went for that in and out save. It didn't connect, and that ball floated for way too long in front of FaZe Clan.
It's hard for me to say without being able to look at it again, but I wonder if, you know, his path could have had a lot of open, small paths if there was a way he could have afforded himself a little bit more boost for that play.
Well, there's certainly a moment where he could have turned in Jory, but like you said, if he got maybe literally one pad, could have changed that.
Reliance on the canister, maybe doing Typical a little dirty this time, but Typical got the pass out the first killer. He's had a lot of high impact plays for FaZe. They're going to need a couple more. A lot of heavy 50s. Even right here.
Yeah.
That ball away. First killer has to come back to it. Just no one really able to get a good opportunity, but that ball just skirted back to AJ. You got another 50 for Squishy, and NRG don't have to sweat too much on defense.
NRG, I don't know how NRG are finding this, but the power on these pinches in the 50-50s. There was even that moment way earlier in the series, if you remember, where I believe it was Justin who just destroyed somebody on FaZe Clan with the challenge, and then Gary G was able to capitalize. So that trend has continued, and also the trend of being physical and getting demos has continued for FaZe Clan. It doesn't lead to something from first killer. He went for the flip reset, didn't connect, and we're just stuck in this 50-50 battle in the midfield and a big clear instead of going for the pass. Their FaZe Clan not utilizing each other as much as you'd like to see.
Just a little far away from Typical. And you're right, had they been able to connect on that, could have been a deadly opportunity for him.
Yeah.
Look at those 50s from AJ. Actually, first killer's slow to this, and Justin gets back to it first. Nice carry from Justin.
Man.
Roller to Squishy, and he just couldn't get out of the way in time. AJ trying to protect this ball. That's a 50 right to Squishy. Another 50 in front, but the ball loose in front of the box. The rest of NRG willing to wait in midfield. Justin keeps it close. These side touches, not letting first killer get up for this ball. He's going to let it drop. Nobody's ready for NRG.
And I'm a bit surprised to see Garrett G not go for that double tap off the backboard in Game 7. I just want to remind everybody, when Sypical joined FaZe Clan, especially Gibbs, who we heard on the desk, everybody has been doubting him and discussing how he performs in these clutch final moments. That Game 7 performance from Sypical, he already had a huge mistake earlier on defense. Will he make up for it? And can he redeem himself? There's only 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Otherwise, NRG might find a spot in the grand final.
Oh no, first killer missed the ball. AJ's all by himself at the 2-on-1. Justin tried to do it, but AJ stays strong and got the save. No boost, misses the pad, tries to wave dash forward. Garrett gets over him. Another chance for Squishy. Pops up, he's out of boost. Garrett's in the air, denied by Sypical, but Garrett keeps it close. Justin diving in front, denied by first killer. Counterattack, Sypical. First killer diving forward in the corner. He's got no boost. Can get back in front of that. 2 touches in front above Squishy, and Garrett just barely gets in the way. FaZe, are they done? Oh my goodness, Sypical trying to get in front of it. They're all caught out and back. First killer gets back to the wall. Justin pulled off. And first killer wins a big touch, but FaZe still need a goal.
And you can't doubt the ability for FaZe Clan to recover. They will send everybody on the field. There's Sypical up for the challenge. 2 players go for the save in net. 30 seconds left. NRG, they just need to waste some time. And they will secure that grand final spot, but you know FaZe Clan want it badly.
The physical game coming in big time for FaZe. That bump breaks them out here. Here's first killer. He can't find the touch. And now FaZe might get caught out, but no touch comes, and AJ can get back to the ball. Oh, a couple of tight ones. Here comes Sypical. AJ catches it with him, and first killer's left all by himself. No boost for Justin. FaZe got to do it now. Big demo, but AJ's now out of the play. Sypical denied by Garrett G. AJ, last chance. Big clear down the field. What a touch. Sypical got the catch. AJ goes to the flick, denied. Justin keeps NRG on top. First killer, another chance. Denied. NRG survived to the grand finals.
And they even deny the last second heroics from FaZe Clan. Sypical caught that ball and had one flick, one final opportunity. He couldn't make it count. The defense from NRG, far too strong. And look at the smiles across Squishy and Garrett G. They don't know how on earth they got away with that last dribble, but they are darn happy to be here and to make it and make this run in the first regional event.
Turtle, I just want to say, in the pregame, before we went live, you were telling me that you felt like NRG's defense, they're like Floyd Mayweather. You know, they just, they're able to bob and weave and move around and just somehow find a way to take your chances and completely nullify them. And we saw that. FaZe were able to find NRG a couple of times. But who wins the marathon? It's Mayweather. It's NRG.
Exactly. I mean, you've got Mayweather in the ring, and he's just going to be taking the blows, taking the hits, and that's what NRG did at the beginning. How many incredible FaZe Clan shots did we see going? How many incredible passes, like the one from AJ off the sidewall? First killer was getting involved. Sypical was scoring first almost every game in the first, 4 games. And that slowly started to ripple away, and the stamina wasn't there. Meanwhile, NRG, they were fired up and ready to go every single game throughout the whole series.
NRG, big test for them that they pass with flying colors. Who will they find in the grand finals later on? We got a bunch of matches to decide. Will it be FaZe or another? Find out after the break.